Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Chasers. Today is January 2nd, 2022. Coming up on 10:30 a.m. here, you can see the huge trough over the Gulf of Alaska, the cold air continuing to pour off of the state of Alaska. Parent low just off the south coast, and a powerful front impacting Vancouver Island now. We've had lightning off and on during the morning, some thunder snow over the higher terrain there. And this front is eventually going to make it into the western portions of the state and then eventually push off through eastern Washington and Oregon. Then you'll see there's cold air behind it, and this cold air cumulus, we're going to get some off and on showers. And it could be some snow above 500 feet in the lowlands, but the moisture is going to be limited after the main part of the front. Looks like the main front is not going to bring snow down to sea level. So mainly above 1,000 to 1,500 feet, you can get some pretty heavy snowfall, and that's coming up. So let's go ahead and let's look at this. This is future projection of what the frontal system should look like. You notice these are 3-hour increments here, so it is moving fairly slow, and then it should be impacting western Washington and Oregon at this time, the Olympics, and starting to spread heavy snow to the Cascades. And you can see that front, powerful gradients coming on the Oregon coast there. And then there's almost a second part. You know, these systems tend to come in as graduated fronts, so there's going to be more pseudo frontal systems behind that main front too, and you can see more activity back here in the comma cloud, the bent back occlusion on this low as it moves up towards Vancouver Island. And then another system, an open wave, kind of moves into the Oregon coast there, and that might reinforce some northerlies and some easterlies into western Washington and actually bring some chillier, drier air before this next system out here. And this system will have an easterly component with it across the region too, so it might reinforce a bit of that drier air. And as we get precipitation over that, we might get some rain or some snow or some freezing rain in portions of western Washington. We're gonna have to watch out for that. We'll go into a little more detail on that coming up here in a minute. First, let's look at what's going on now. Looks like they dropped the wind advisory for most of the Puget Sound area. They still have the high wind warning up for Bellingham, Skagit, Whatcom counties. Again, the highest winds are going to be along the coastline, over the waters, San Juan County, Whidbey Island. There is a wind advisory for the coast, and of course we still have the high wind warning for the coastal range and for the Oregon coast, where gusts can be, let's check out those gust speeds actually. So we're looking at high wind warning here, gust to 75 along the most exposed terrain and the headlands on the Oregon coast. And if you're up in the coastal range there, you can expect gust to 65 miles per hour. Let's check out the Cascade winter storm warning here too. Mainly above 1,500 feet, 45 miles per hour, 15 to 30 inches. Similar to what we talked about the past day or two. Same thing with Oregon, except the winds will actually be a little higher. Looks like the gradient's going to be a bit stronger. So heads up if you're out in the backcountry there in the Cascades, Oregon and Washington. Extreme weather is on the way here. Widespread blowing snow, high winds, heavy snow. And there's winter weather advisories for some of the higher traveled areas of I-90 in eastern Washington. Check this out. They're calling for some blowing snow coming through the region here. 1 to 3 inches doesn't sound like much. 4 inches plus north of Highway 2. But when it's 1 to 3 inches in blowing snow, snowplows don't do any good. You plow the road and snow just blows back across it. The highway can be obscured when you're trying to drive on it, so it can be very dangerous. Winter storm warnings out for the highlands of northeast Washington, Pullman just south of St. Louis, and you can see we've got high wind warning out for Pendleton area, Milton, Freewater, Dayton, some of the higher terrain especially. And we've got wind advisories for places like Bend, Oregon, Redmond. We've got, did they downgrade this out here? No, there's still the winter storm watch out there. Gust of 50 miles per hour out here in southeast Oregon, up to 18 inches in higher terrain, 6 to 10 in the valleys. So an extreme storm that's going to just impact the entire region here. And let's dive into some of what the models are showing here. So this is Astoria. You can see the winds pick up really strongly this afternoon. Check out some of these totals. There's a lot of the ensembles are showing over 50 miles per hour, some over 60. The mean is about 55 miles per hour, so heads up out there. Looking at Bend, Oregon over there, some pretty good winds, mainly starting late tonight into Monday morning. You can see a lot of these ensembles have 45 plus mile per hour winds going on through there. Newport along the Oregon coast, check this out. They've got a mean over 55 miles per hour. A lot of the ensembles over 60. So Oregon coast is really going to be whipping going into tonight, into tomorrow morning. Bellingham, the high wind's supposed to continue, again, mainly near the water, but you can see a lot of these ensembles are over 50 miles per hour, and the mean is over 50 also. Seattle, Tacoma, you can see where they drop the high wind or the wind advisory here. You need generally 46 to 57 to get that. It seems like Seattle's going to be just less than that. You can still get some 40 mile per hour gusts, and you can get some nuisance power outages in those scenarios, but generally not a big wind event for the Puget Sound area, the majority of it anyway. Looking at Spokane, a little breezy, but a 30 mile per hour wind when you've got snow flying, it can be problematic, especially dry snow. Snowplows don't do much good when the snow's getting blown around a lot. Check out Pendleton. I mean, the mean is 56 miles per hour or so. Just some impressive wind speeds there. And this is mainly for Monday morning into Monday early afternoon. And here's the system we're looking at. I talked about it a little bit earlier. So let's back this up a little bit here. And we'll see this open wave kind of moving into Oregon there. I'm going to put that into motion. You can see it going to the Oregon coast. Going to bring some windy conditions along the Oregon coast there. And you can see above that, we've got offshore flow. We've got a little bit of what's going to be chillier air leaking out, chilly and dry air leaking out over western Washington there and kind of reinforcing through eastern Washington. And then you'll notice the next system come on here, and you can see this warm front here. And then you got the easterlies just north of that. And that is going to pull out a little bit more cool and dry air. And some of the valleys, some Whatcom County area, especially north, could get some cold air trapped when the precipitation from this next system starts to move in here. So that's what we're watching for Wednesday night into Thursday. So that's our next potential winter weather event for the western portions of the state, the lowlands anyway. That shouldn't really affect western Oregon too much, but you're going to get plenty of action here with this upcoming storm. We're going to go into a little more detail on that here in a minute also. Here's some of the temperatures for that time frame too. You can see we're chilly, but you can see it remains just above freezing in Seattle. So we're gonna have to see just how much cold air gets in here and how dry it is, because once precipitation starts, you get that wet bulb cooling effect, and you can drop that temperature down at the surface in such cases with the precipitation. But in a freezing rain event, generally you need the temperature to already be below freezing, then you want the precip to fall through that, and then you get the freezing rain accumulating. I don't know if we're going to be that far below freezing to actually give us a significant freezing rain event, but up north of Everett, there is a possibility. We've got to watch to see how much cold air is leaking out into the region there. And as we go into, this is Bellingham, I wanted to look at Wednesday. You can see a lot of these temperatures. Some of these are in the upper 20s. A lot of below freezing temperatures during that, but it is marginal, so we're going to have to watch that. And Bellingham is near the water. Places back north and east are up more in the valley, sheltered valley areas, and they might get some cold air trapped, especially as the system is offshore, throwing precipitation over the top of it and drawing that air out from the east and the northeast. Here is Pendleton. Check it out, just a heads up, National Weather Service page here too. Poor visibility, just talking about, you saw the high winds that are coming for there. So heed warnings of your high wind warning, your wind advisories, your heavy snow, and your winter storm warnings out there. Here is let's look at Spokane here. So you can see 3 to 4 inches, prepare for snow. You can see again, the basin kind of gets left out a bit, but the higher terrains, quite a bit more. Highway 2 and north, more. But any of the snow that falls can be blowing around and can cause visibility problems really quickly. So periods of snow in the forecast. National Weather Service Spokane showing there. Lowlands 4 inches to over a foot in some areas. And here is for western Oregon with that gradient setting up pretty strongly over the coast there. You can see the coast is going to get raked with those high winds. So if you love big wind, go out to the coast. The headlands will be roaring tonight. They mentioned the gorge here inland, not too big of a wind scenario here going on, so not too big of a deal. But there is this flood watch too they talk about for heavy rain coming in. They talked about 2 to 4 inches falling, and you've got, snow melt going on with that in places that are in higher terrain that still have snow on the ground. You can get some of that heavy rain that actually it can flood locally, like small streams, and even in urban areas, housing developments that have snow or whatnot, that water can be channeled in the snow, and the slush melting can flood local areas. So heads up there. So yeah, we're going to look at that system coming in Wednesday night and Thursday, but we have this to go through here too. So there's a chance you could see a lightning strike with this front anywhere western Washington and Oregon also going through tonight. And this front is slow moving too right now. I just checked the lightning out a bit ago, and there was some over Vancouver eye on there. But then we're going to have plenty of cold air aloft there too. And like I talked about last night, we're going to have some thunderstorm potential along the coastlines. And that's going to push in on the afternoon, especially tomorrow, into western Washington and the Willamette Valley. So we'll walk through some thunderstorm potential there. And yeah, thanks for the support, you guys. I'm getting a lot of good feedback. And I will talk to you guys on Twitter, and I'll come out with my video tomorrow at least, and maybe another one tonight. We'll see how it goes, if there's any big developments. Otherwise, you guys are probably fully briefed. If you're doing anything important that can damage property or threaten livelihood, make sure to check your local forecast and check it often. Don't rely on any one forecast before you go do something that's potentially dangerous. So I will talk to you guys on Twitter, and thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.